والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه الطاهرين ما دام ما في السماوات والأرضين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. كيف حالكم؟ ما شاء الله تبارك الله. Everybody okay today? MashaAllah. What does the brother say? Dr. Sir, what is that? Okay. All the chairmen okay? MashaAllah. So we started with Surah Naas last week. So how far did we get? قل أعوذ برب الناس. نعم. Jamil. So one of the salient ways is the way, or rather the difference between Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. So in Surah Al-Falaq, because what you're seeking refuge from is a concrete thing, and the concrete enemy that you can see, feel and touch, it's easier to contend with than the abstract enemy. And therefore, when we seek refuge in the concrete enemy, we appeal to one name of Allah. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ, from the evil of that which you had created. But when we contend with the abstract enemy, then we appeal not only to one name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but to three names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the abstract enemy from this particular perspective is a more formidable opponent and more difficult to deal with. So what do? We say, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَهِ النَّاسِ, and then we continue. مِنْ شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ. Tamam? So we seek refuge in Allah. And we've also discussed last week that when we look at our enemies, our scholars list them. Your enemies are, number one, the self. And the self is your most formidable opponent. And a clear proof of the fact that yourself is your greatest opponent, your greatest enemy, right, is the fact that the devil, so if you blame the devil for misleading you, the question is, who misled the devil? So the devil is misleading you, but who misled the devil? His self. His self. You with me? And what aspect of his self? They say a number of aspects. But what comes to mind first is arrogance, pride. And pride is when you consider yourself better than another. So he considered himself better than Adam. Why? Because Adam was created from clay and he was created from fire. Tamam? Okay. So the most formidable opponent is yourself. If you do yourself a favor, and this is a conceptualization, but it will avail you greatly, it will benefit you greatly. When you look at yourself, right, what are you made up of? Are you a simple entity, simple being, or are you a complex being? What I mean by complex is you're made up of more than one entity. So you're a simple being or complex being? You're complex. So your complexity comes from what? You're made up of three parts. What parts are you made up of? You have, I pray, intellect. No, you do. I'm just joking. Of course you do. I hope you do. I pray you do. You do. Okay? So you're made up of three parts. One is the intellect. The other one is the body. Your body. And the other one is your soul. Right? Now, when you think about yourself, how do you think about yourself? I'm asking like an honest question now. When you think about yourself, how do you think about yourself? Do you think about yourself as a simple entity? In other words, when you look at yourself, you see one entity. Or do you actually discern between your variant constituent elements. Honestly now. You just think about yourself as one thing. As a first step to the reform of the self is that when you look at yourself, your nafs, consider it to be a different entity altogether. You follow me? Your enemy, which is the self. Don't think about it as yourself. Think about it almost like a foreign entity in your mind. And now once you consider it to be an external, now you can actually realize the potential and the sway that this external entity, which is actually part of yourself, has over you. Yourself can destroy you. And what's yourself made up? For example, greed. So now you tell yourself, I'm not going to fall prey to myself. Because you consider yourself as a different entity, therefore I'm not going to be greedy. It makes it easier to contend with. So your first enemy is the self. The second enemy is the devil. The third enemy is the world, materialistic world. And the fourth enemy is your fellow human beings. Tamam? So now when you want to deal, Surah Naas doesn't deal with the self as an enemy. It deals with two other enemies. Not the materialistic world also. It deals with the devil. And what is the revelation in terms of Surah Naas, and which the scholars highlight, the devil doesn't belong to one genus. You know genus? Genus. You know, like for example, you know genes? Like you get Levi, you get Akajo, you get Lee, you know, and you get, help me out here guys, you get the G-Star, you get Mr. Price, you get Pep Stores, and you get the Woolies. Now all of these types, they belong to one generic group. It's called a genus. And then I have another genus altogether. It's called shirts. You know, like shirts. So you have a formal shirt, informal shirt, short sleeve, long sleeve. All of those types of shirts, they belong to a genus called shirts. So you get jeans, one genus, and then you get shirts, that's another genus. Different groups, right? Okay. Now, you know, we're saying, I seek refuge in Allah from the whisperings of the devil, right? But now, the whisperings of the devil belongs to one of two categories. The one is the jinn kind, and the other one, lo and behold, surprise, surprise, belongs to the human category. And I'm almost sure that many of us, when we thought about the whisperings of the devil, right, we only thought about the devil from jinn kind, not realizing, you know, that, and this is the example that comes to mind, please don't take me to task for that, right? The devil can be, you see, you have a tiff with your husband, for example, right? And now you go to work, and your colleague sits next to you, and all he tells you, not she, all he tells you is, you don't deserve that. You deserve better. What must you bacha? Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharri waswasil khannas alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas. Today's lesson is over. That's the crux of it. The more lethal, to use the right word at the right time, lethal. You have a good understanding of lethal. The more lethal of the enemies is not the devil. In terms of whispering, is the one that whispers, right? From amongst mankind. And Allah refers to that in this particular verse. So let's do the translation, or I'll do that explanation now. So the ladies in particular, and men folk generally, you understand what I'm talking about? You must, otherwise your status quo as a lady questionable. You must know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, everybody does. Shukran. Guys, you know what I'm talking about, no? Okay. Now, let me tell you this about the whisperings from the devil, and then we'll do the translation quickly, and then we'll finish the surah today, right? Okay. This is a very serious thing. Now, the whisperings, this should be written on the board, but you can conceptualize it within your mind. The whisperings, right? So we spoke about from the devil, and we spoke about from the fellow human being. Now, what's the more lethal of the two? From the fellow human being. Uniquely, you exist in two circles. Think about your social circle. You exist in two circles. One is your social circle. For example, let's say, for example, you're married, right? So, if I use an example, if you think of yourself as example, social circle, right? I'm struggling to remember your name, Habibi. Danielle. Danielle, if I can use you as an example. So you have a social circle, right? Everybody think about it. So you're married. So your wife is part of that social circle. So you have mom and dad, they're part of the social circle, right? And you have brothers, they're part of the social circle. Do you have a sister? Sister-in-law. Okay. Leave the outlaws. Only the, let's keep it, okay. So you yourself, you're married, you have your parents and you have brothers. Would you agree with me that that's your inner social circle? But would you agree with me also that you have another social circle, but these people, they exist on the periphery of your circle? Now, when you with me? So now when you go to work, your colleague at work, right? He's not within that inner circle. He's on the periphery. But you know what? You talk to him or her, and then they whisper, right? And they whisper to you in a manner that impacts on your existence within your inner circle. But they just relax on the outer circle. They wreak havoc and they sit back. Have you experienced that? It's comfortable for you because you speak to them because of anonymity. So you speak to somebody on the outside of your circle. But they so easily whisper. Waswas al-khannas, waswas is whispering. I'm going to use Quranic terminology because Quranic terminology put it nicely. Waswas is whispering. Khannas, of somebody who comes and goes, very devilish, very surreptitiously. But they do it in such a manner that it actually impacts on your life within your inner circle. And what happens? They just walk away from all the harm. It's almost like what they do is they take a grenade, they throw it into a room, the grenade blasts up, and they comfortably walk away, like in the movies. You know them? And so if I were to locate that waswas al-khannas in terms of your social circle, that's where I'm going to put it. It can be somebody within your circle, the general rule. They may say harmful stuff, but they're not going to. Why not? Because if bad's going to happen, they're in the room where the grenade is in, so they're going to suffer the consequences if everything must go wrong. But the guy who's on the periphery, things can go right, can go wrong. They don't really bear the brunt of a wrong decision that you may have made. Like, that's why the guy who says you don't deserve that is so dangerous. And I've seen it happening. You don't deserve that led to divorce, breakup of marriages, and everything else that comes with it. You with me? And it's just so at the right time that the guy says the right words. And then emotionally what happens? You get carried away with that, and then you have to suffer the consequences that comes from there. May Allah save us. But the main thing is to every morning bacha your du'as. And Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas particularly works, when you go into a dreaded corporate meeting and you know they're gunning for you. You know they're gunning for you. You know you're in the firing line. So what do? You're going to contend with it yourself? No. What do? Where do you seek refuge? You seek refuge in Allah. Qul a'udhu bin nas. My one friend told this to me. He said when he was walking to work, he knew that his manager today Today, basically, heads are going to be rolling, and the first head is going to be rolling is his. So the only thing he could do, walk into work was, Qul Rabbin Nas, Malikin Nas. When he came to work, before the manager could roll his head, the manager, on top of that manager, rolled the manager's head. You with me? So you see the power of Qul Rabbin Nas? No. Very important. Very important. And to commit ourselves to, you see, that was al-khannas, it comes from your fellow human being, right? That is something that you can actually stay. But now we're all hearing. Somebody whispers this, whispers that, whispers that, we're all hearing. It's a big problem. Allah save us. The person comes to you and he wants to whisper in your ears, and it's about somebody else or wrong things. You must know, you didn't find other suitable garbage can except for my ears to put this dirt in. That person, he thinks very little of you. That person who comes to you and backbites and whispers bad things in your ears, he thinks very little of you. He thinks you're a garbage can. You know, we related to when somebody wants to give us the leftovers. Doesn't mom say, what do you think I'm a... You know, like, you must eat everybody's leftovers all of the time. After a while you get fed up and you say, what do you think I'm like a rubbish can? And because everybody wanting to take the leftovers and give it to you because you must fill your tummy with it. So you take exception to that. So why don't we take exception to when somebody wants to come speak and whisper and be the khannas? Why don't we take exception then? You have no respect for me. Completely disrespectful. Because that toxic whisperings that you deem my ear suitable as a recipient for that toxic waste in terms of waswas and khannas. May Allah save us. And many times you and I as students, we absolve ourselves of the fact that we don't backbite, we don't whisper, and we don't do all of these things. You know, these intimations. But the fact that you are listening, then you party to the whole problem. Because if there was nobody to listen, then there would be nobody to speak. So, Allah grant us understanding. So today's thrust is, you know, waswasul khannas min al-jinnati wan nas. Min from al-jinnah. Jinnah refers to jinn kind, and nas, mankind. Alhamdulillah, there we finish. Okay, now we go from the beginning. Malikin nas. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. So the wording is very simple, inshallah. Qul, we did the first verse, right? Malikin nas. Malikin nas. Malik means owner. Malik. And the true owner is Allah. And this is the different. If we you know, the years that we're going to be spending together, inshallah, may Allah grant you long life in His obedience, we can discuss again what is meant by Malik, the owner, right? And what is the correct understanding in terms of you having ownership. So actually you own a house, you own a house. You own a car, What is meant by you as an owner? The real owner is Allah. And that is from Quran. What does Allah talk about? قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ. Allah is the owner of al-mulk. The word al-mulk there means kingdom. The word al there is for istighraq, which encompasses all items that can be owned. Who is the owner? Allah is the owner. So if Allah is the owner, what role do you play? That's quite unique, don't you think? If you want to put it in simple terms, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made you a trustee. So now when you think of what you own, but you think of it as this is a trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has entrusted me with. Number one is you're going to use it differently. Because it's not yours to do with what you want to, it's a trust with me. You're actually going to look after your car better because it's a trust from Allah that Allah has given you. Okay. If you want to look at it as a technical, legally speaking, in terms of when you say that Allah is the owner, then what are you? All Allah did was Allah singled you out that you have access to certain benefits from that given thing. For example, you own the house. Allah is the actual owner, but Allah SWT has made it that you are singled out, it's on your name. You're responsible for the maintenance, for the rates, and you have the right to sleep in it and all of those. It's ikhtisasat. Allah has singled you out that you can benefit from it in particular ways. But in terms of ownership, the real owner is Allah. Not that I can come steal from you and then say, no, you're not the owner, Allah is the owner. No, not in that particular sense. Are you with me? So now, the important thing is Allah is the owner of all of mankind. So when you have trouble with mankind, this mankind is whispering in your ear, you seek refuge in Allah, who is what? of the owner of mankind. So you seeking power in an authority that actually has the ability to assist you. Malikin Nas, Ilahin Nas. Ilahin Nas. The Lord of mankind. Ilahin Nas. And if you look at the tiered structure of of recognizing who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, what do we start off with? We start off with that Allah is the Lord of creation. What does Lord mean? Allah created you. Right? And then when you progress from there, we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala owns you. So if Allah creates you and Allah owned you, right? Then what should be the response from us? If Allah created us, right? And then Allah owns us. So to our creator and to our owner, what do we have? We have a sense of gratitude. But the sense of gratitude must lead to the third verse, which is in Ilahin Nas. It must lead to servitude, and therefore Allah becomes our Lord. You see this, the way you stage it? Rabbin Nas, Allah created me. Malikin Nas, Allah owns me. So if Allah created me and Allah owns me, what is my relationship with Allah? A relationship of servitude. Allah is my master and I am His servant. What do I want from Allah? I seek refuge in Allah, from sharri. Sharri means the evil, right? Min is from. Everybody with me? You're with me? You must tell me if you don't get it, no? Then we can always go. Min means from. Sharri. Sharri means evil. And the word waswas. Waswas means whisperings. The word waswas in the Arabic language, you have a bit of onomatopoeia there. When a word sounds like what it means. Like we say the buzzing of the bee. Buzzing, zzz, buzzing. So the buzzing sounds like that sound that the bee makes. Here was. It means whisperings and exactly like this. Was. Al-Khannas. Khannas. The word, and this is the surreptitious nature in which these things happen. That's one of the big problems. Because when people do wrong, they don't do it openly, but they do it clandestinely. So the person tells them, I'm speak to you alone. Speak to you softly, whispering all. Because, the wrong nature of it dictates that you can't do it out loud. You must do it like that. Khannas. So khannas means khanasa, something who does something furtively, comes and goes. There are stars that are referred to as khannas as well. There are stars that is referred to as khannas. Why do we refer to the stars as khannas? One quality of stars, khannas. Another quality of stars is also at-tariq. At-tariq means to knock. So, does 24 hours, 24/7 somebody knocking on your door? No. Every now and then somebody would come and knock on your door. So a knock is something which comes and goes. So the stars, are they visible all of the time? No. It's only at night when they come out, knocking, so to say. Therefore it's called at-tariq. And then there's certain other stars which Allah takes an oath by. And those stars, when Allah wants to refer to them, Allah refers to them as khannas. Khannas, the meaning that we discussed now means to be concealed, furtively, surreptitiously. They come to you in quiet and they whisper to you. Right? So khannas in reference to stars, the reason why stars are called khannas is because in the day it recedes. At night it appears to be coming out. Right? So this enemy, in our four enemies, the most formidable being the self, therefore the devil. But the devil take on two forms in terms of Surah Naas. Which form are they? The one genus is jinkind and the other genus is mankind. And then the world which we subsist in. So now you want to seek refuge in Allah from this devil, which is the whispering one. So Allah refers to the one who comes and goes and says, Waswas al-Khannas, he goes and comes. Plant the seed all the time. Plant the seed all the time. So much so at the end of the day, you actually start believing this person, you don't deserve that. And then it leads to what it leads to, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas. We'll quickly finish this. Mullah Khalil left there quickly. Alladhi, the one who yuwaswisu. The one who, what does he do? Allah spoke to him firstly now what was wasil khannas. Now the word khannas is on the scale of fa'al, isn't it? That khanasa. So you can say khanis, and then you can say khannas. Khannas means one who whispers all of the time. So this whispering is almost like an incessant whispering all the time, until you feel coerced to follow these whisperings, these promptings. You follow me? That's what khannas means, all the time. It's like akil. Actually, this is a good example to use the following here. Akil means one who eats, isn't it? You agree with me? Akala ya'kulu. Hey man, a person not under a lot of pressure in this class, man. Because now you have to whack it till you get to the end of the surah. Pressure. Called pressure. Okay. Al-Khannas. Al-Khannas. So what is Khanasa? Number one is a verb, right? You know the meaning. What does it mean? To whisper. But to whisper in a manner that you whisper and then you like attract and you detract. You follow me? But now you also notice that is it an ism fi'lu harf? Al-Khannas. Ism fi'lu harf. You know, if I ask you out there the car, is it a Toyota? Is it a Merc? Is it a Ferrari? Or is it a Kalahari Ferrari? What are you going to tell me? You're going to look at the badge. So the badge tells you it's a Mercedes. Now in Arabic there's three words, isn't it? You have a verb, you have a noun, and you have a particle. Now this word here in front of us, Al-Khannas, what is it? Ism. Why do you say Al at the beginning? Oh, Allahu Akbar. Al-Khannas. So you agree it's an ism. Now what does an ism establish? An ism establishes consistency, firmness. It's there all the time. Al-Khannas. So this is an insistent whisperer. It's established there. It's like, for example, I'm in front of this example, Monas here. You know, you have the word akala ya'kulu. What does it mean? To eat. So the person who eats is called an akil. A person who eats. Not akil, like with the ayn, but akil with the hamza. A person who eats. But now if you take that and you put it on the scale of khannas, fa'al, it means akal. You're not referring to an eater. You're referring to a gimba. Now a gimba, what does a gimba do? A gimba eats some of the time or all of the time? All of the time. This khannas, what's he doing? Whispering. Some of the time or all of the time? All the time.